Now you can make it shorter, longer, whatever. The best part about it is my booking ratio is like 90%. How do you get more out of your business? So annual reviews is obviously the first place that we can go ahead and start. I think it's the easiest place to go. It's a long-term game. So that means in order to start doing annual reviews, you have to be an agent with us for at least a year. You have to actually make some sales, but this is the long-term game. So let's say I sell my first policy on January 1st of 2023. Well, January 1st of 2024, or a few weeks before, I should be hitting up those people whose reviews are coming up. And I'll kind of share a couple of different scripts with you guys. Let me go ahead and pull up my annual review script right now. Hey, Bob, this is Jamie. I'm just giving you a call about your fill in the blank Carrier America policy that you got back in March of 2021. Remember that one that you're paying $136 a month for? Hey, well, it's time for your annual review, and we should set up a time to knock this out ASAP. We're doing everything all over the phone now, and I'm running appointments over the next couple days. We're going to review your current policy, make sure it's up to date. Beneficiary info is correct, and make sure you understand it. I'll have you off the phone in about 15 minutes. What's your schedule tomorrow or the next day? Now you can make it shorter, longer, whatever. The best part about it is my booking ratio is like 90%. And when I had enough people on my, if you got to imagine, if you're helping 10 families a week, you do it for 52 weeks. That's a lot of families. So now I started booking up 10, 15 appointments a day every single time that I started texting my annual review clients. And guess what? They answered me because my phone number was saved in their phone because they've been paying for a year or 2 years. So you got to think, like, I go and I buy new leads and I book 12 appointments. Well, I really want to be at 18. So what do? I feel like I've exhausted my batch of leads for the day, or I'm just kind of sick of banging the phones right now. I want to get a few easy wins. I send some text out to my current clients. It make you feel real good when you send some text out to your current clients, and then you get on the phone and do an annual review, and they're like, Jamie, how are you? How have you been? Like, how's your kids? Like, and it's a great experience to be able to bring that back around to someone who's already built trust with you. So that's how you get them on the phone. Now, once I get on the phone, there's a couple of different approaches that you can take. One approach is adding on coverage. Now, another approach would be, replacing coverage. Now, if you're ever going to replace coverage that you've written, there's something called churning business. I don't necessarily recommend it. And that's just moving people from carrier to carrier to carrier, every year. Don't do that. Number one, your client, obviously their health changes as they get older, and their premiums get more expensive as they get older. So if you're not going to be able to put your client in a better position, don't change their carrier. Now, when you're brand new, sometimes you write a policy and you weren't as knowledgeable as you are now, and you realize, man, I left some money on the table, or man, actually, this solution probably would have made more sense for them. And you go back and you put them in a different position. Now, just make sure if you're ever going to do that, that the client's been on the books for over 10 months, because you don't need to be getting a charge back on the old policy just because you're trying to put the client in a better position. So just be careful on what you're doing there. If you are going to do an annual review and you do end up replacing a policy that you've written, that you're past the 10-month mark, so we can avoid that chargeback period. That's super important. And then when it comes to adding on more coverage, finding out if their budget has changed. So if I get on the phone with someone, the first thing that I do, I love that the Americo back office, I can go in and I can actually pull up their actual policy. I can pull up the policy that they have, and I can get on the phone with them, and I can, let's say Josh is my client, on like the whatever page the summary's on, the beneficiaries there. Hey, Josh, how you doing? Calling for our annual review. How's Michelle doing? And this is a client you haven't talked to in a year, and then you drop their spouse's name. They're like, oh, they're doing great. Like, thanks for asking. How's your kid doing? How's Johnny doing? And you bring that up. It's just a big deal. And the first thing I always do is I always make sure all of the information is correct. Hey, is your mailing address still correct? Hey, is your birthday correct? Your social's correct? Hey, just want to make sure all this is correct, because we want to make sure, God forbid something happens, there's no issues, no snags, everything's good. Okay, awesome. Everything looks great. Oh, your mailing address changed. Hey, do you have a copy of your physical policy laying around anywhere? No. Hey, I'm just going to hit up Americo and have them send you a copy. Or I've got the PDF sitting in front of me. Let me send you a quick email. It's just customer service. Like, you're sitting there serving them to let them know, hey, this is the policy you have. Let me make sure all this information is correct. Explaining the policy to them and letting them know that they made a great decision. Hey, Josh, you got this Americo, CBO. It's a 30-year policy. Hey, do you remember you get all your money back at the end? Let me make sure I explain how that works. Hey, if you die, your wife's going to get $250,000. If you become sick or disabled, you're going to get $250,000. And if nothing happens, you guys are going to get a cashback check of $73,389. Does that all make sense? Okay, great. And you just really build up what you've already gotten them and just tell them how good of a decision it was that they got that policy. Now, adding on coverage is one of my favorite things. And you start asking people, hey, has your health changed? Because if it hasn't changed, they're probably able to get approved for the same thing, if not more. But hey, maybe they had a heart attack or something, so they can't get approved for more coverage. Has your health changed? Has your budget changed? Has your job changed? Anything like that, to find out what's going on with them. And then my go-to, and obviously everybody has a different method, my go-to on annual reviews is to talk about inflation. Okay. If you watch hey, Josh, you guys been watching the news lately? Hey, yeah, I try not to watch it either. But anytime you turn on the news, all they're talking about is inflation, inflation, inflation. Everything's getting more expensive. Gallon of gas, gallon of milk, life insurance, final expenses, mortgage expenses, blah, blah, blah. It's all getting more expensive. So you'd agree with that, right? Yep. So, and then I always, just like when we're booking an appointment and we say, hey, they just make me come out there to do the medical thing, blah, blah, blah. I blame it on someone else. I say, hey, Josh, hey, the industry experts, they're just really telling us right now that with inflation, if you've got a $10,000 policy, really to pace with inflation, it really should be a $15,000 or a $20,000 policy. Hey, Josh, the industry experts, they're telling us in order to pace with inflation, if you have a $250,000 policy, it really should be a $300,000 or a $350,000 policy to pace with inflation, because everything's getting more expensive. Wouldn't you agree? And they always say yes. And then pretty much at this point, you got one of two scenarios. Either one, they're going to tell you, I'm already stretched thin to the absolute edge of my budget and I can't do anything else. Or how much would it cost to add on a little bit more? And you'd be surprised how many people just lead you right into the application. Like, you spend 20, 30 minutes with a new client trying to build up to get to the application. If you have enough rapport built with a client of your own and they have some available budget, you can be in a brand new application adding on coverage in 10 minutes, off the phone call in 20. Like, it's pretty incredible when you already have that level of rapport. When I first got started, the max amount of coverage with Americo was $30,000. Well, now it's $40,000. The max amount of coverage with Mutual of Omaha was $40,000. Now it's $50,000. So going back to some of those clients who are like, no, I want to max it out, and be like, hey, just to let you know, they actually increased the amount of coverage you can max it out with. And you have the ability to add on, or looking at their situation. Hey, I know back then we only got, Josh set up, but like, is it important that we get Michelle some coverage? Hey, I know that we got Josh and Michelle set up, but your kids, hey, did we get any coverage for I don't think we got any coverage for your kids. And now you've already built rapport. So you have an opportunity to create those add-on sales. And that rapport, is built in a handful of different ways, but adding on coverage and annual review is one of the easiest things you can do, or helping them save money. You got started and you got them started with an Americo Eagle. That's great. Maybe they're like perfectly healthy 52-year-old. You got them an Americo Eagle, $40,000 in coverage. It cost them whatever it cost them. And then you realize a little bit later on, they had some more budget. You maxed it out and they actually probably would have bought more. So then you're like, you know what, since they are perfectly healthy, maybe I'm going to put them over with a Moo IULE and I'm going to take them from 40,000 to 140,000 and, increase the budget by $30, $40, because I was brand new. And I didn't know I could do that. So now you're putting them in a better position. So you start to see some of those opportunities come up to you when it comes to your book of business.